Okay, rather than sharing this out loud, what I want you to do is just kind of with somebody at your table, I want you guys to compare your answers, and then if you have any questions, I'll kind of fill in the gaps, but just make sure that everybody kind of understands this process. You got like 2 minutes. Share your answers.
So back in the day, like this thing we watched, it was like, only it was like rich people that were like the delegates, so it wasn't right, they representing the entire party. And so then they changed it to where anyone could go, so then it increased everyone's voice. You put your finger in the middle of the party. You put it in the middle of the party.
Okay, I'm hearing really good answers. The one thing that I will tell you that's kind of interesting, and positively, this makes it more democratic. Like the people's votes actually matter. What I will tell you is it has greatly reduced the drama and the excitement and the attention of the National Convention. Like prior to this, the National Convention was like this huge deal, and it was like you never really knew what the party was going to do. Today, National Convention, they used to be televised like all day, every day. People would sit home and they would watch what was going on. Now it's really like the equivalent of a pep rally. I have never, in my voting lifetime, so since 1992, I have never seen a national election, a national convention where the party, we didn't already know who the party was going to pick. So rather what it becomes is it becomes a formality. It's an opportunity for the party to come together and to say, we were competing against one another, but now we're going to rally together and we're going to surround this one person and we're going to hold this person up as a candidate. So it's an opportunity for party building and unification, but it's definitely the drama is gone. So don't expect to know probably, honestly, you guys, by I don't know, probably April, May, we'll already know who the party's going to choose. Just because of this, people are going to start dropping out, and then the party will kind of rally together. Okay? All right, so let's go back to the front of your sheet, and let's go back and look at these reforms and what they're going to mean. Most of the states felt like that the easiest way for us to do this process, open and representative, was to institute a primary. Tell me, Ben, what is a primary?
It's where people who are registered in that specific party can vote for just people in that party.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay? Primary means vote. A primary is an election. There are two kinds of primaries that exist in our country. We have an open primary and we have a closed primary. Jacob, you identified the difference earlier. What's the difference?
The open is a much more broad acceptance. People are allowed to vote, and closed, you wouldn't be able to vote for a Democratic Party candidate if you were registered.
Right. So if you live in a closed primary state, you will register with a political party. So when you sign up and you do your check yes on your driver's license, you're going to say, I'm registering as a Republican or I'm registering as a Democrat. Doesn't mean you can't change, you just have to re-register. So it's not like you're locked in for life. Okay? If you live in a state like ours, we're an open primary. So on election day, you're going to decide. Okay? So Hannah's going to show up and she's going to walk in there and they're going to ask for her driver's license, because we're a voter ID state, and she's going to show her driver's license, and they're going to say, okay, Hannah, do you want to vote Republican or Democrat? And she's going to say whatever she says. So let's just say she says Republican. That means that every single person on her ballot is going to be a Republican. But notice it's not just the presidency, because and this is a silly example, well, maybe it's not silly, I don't know. Anyway, all of these people are running for Senate. All of these people are running for Congress. And then there will be some offices where there will only be one, And so what you're doing is you're sending a message to the party, this is the person I want you to choose. Okay? If you look back over here at your sheet, what did I tell you we're chasing in this stage of the process?
Money.
Say it again. Say it louder.
Money.
Mm-mm. What is it that we're ultimately trying to achieve in this first stage of the process? Say it louder, Crystal.
Electives.
Close. We're not there yet. What are we chasing in the first part? Delegates. Okay? Delegates. So when we go, if Hannah walks in there and she casts a vote and she votes for Mike McAllister, well, let's pretend that was president and it was Mike McAllister, then what she's doing is she's saying, I want the Republican Party to send delegates in the name of Mike McAllister to the county convention. Okay? So I know that this is a little bit crazy. I'm going to show you how this works. All right. Okay? So let's pretend, okay, that, because I know that this isn't really how Hannah feels, so I'm having fun with this. Okay, let's say that in our precinct where we vote, and precinct, I didn't spell that right, precinct just means geographic area. Okay, so she goes down to Collin County and she casts a vote and she votes in the Republican Party primary. And let's say that the top 3 candidates for our precinct are Trump, his name's short, it's easy for me to write, Cruz, and let's go, Ted Cruz, your senator, and Jeb. Okay? Alright, and let's say that percentage-wise, that Trump ends up with 45% of the vote, and that Cruz ends up with 35% of the vote, and that Jeb ends up with the remaining 20%. Alright? What's going to happen then is that Republican Party is going to have allocated delegates to our precinct. And let's say that based on our population, they say, all right, you guys get 6 delegates to go to the, so if we're going to send them to the county convention. What the Republicans would do is they would give Trump all 6 delegates. What do you think we call that? Winner take all. And we're going to hear that phrase multiple times, so don't let it confuse you. The Republicans do a winner take all primary, or maybe a winner-take-all caucus when we get there, okay? If this were the Democrats and we changed those names and we said that Hannah decided instead that she was going to vote in the Democratic primary, they would split them. And they would say, okay, this candidate's going to get 3, this candidate's going to get 2, this candidate is going to get 1. All right? All right, so Reese, let's think about this for a second. How do you think then that's going to affect? So I'm an outsider, right? I'm watching the news and I'm seeing that there's been a primary in this state and a primary in that state, and I'm in another state, and I'm watching this reporting. How are the Republicans going to look different than the Democrats to an outsider?
The Republicans will have more power towards one, and the Democrats will split out.
Ah, very good. Do you guys see that? That the Republicans are very likely going to look like they're going to pick a candidate earlier? Okay? The Democrats haven't always done that, but because of the presence of more minorities in the party and more women in the party, they really pushed for that because they said otherwise we're going to get marginalized all the time because for a long time they weren't getting elected. And so they said it's important for us to have that so that we have more representation because then they're going to end up getting to go to the national convention and so it just created more diversity. That's not 100%. Like right now, we have 15 Republicans, and we have just a handful of Democrats. So the Democrats look more unified than the Republicans probably. So it just depends on the number of candidates, but it is an interesting phenomenon that will definitely affect them. What's up, Pedro?
How do you become a delegate?
So that's a really good question. So in terms of a delegate, my quick answer is it just depends. Okay, like how would one become a delegate? Every party and state legislature gets to decide how they're going to do this. So the easy answer is to say that you become involved in the party. You go to rallies, you go to meetings, you make donations, you participate, and you express your will that you want to be that person, and then eventually that translates. And look, they're going to look for different kinds of people. So if you're a person that is young, that doesn't normally participate, they're going to want you. Like, if y'all wanted to go to the county convention, I'm quite sure you could, especially if you were in this area and you were a Democrat, because there's not as many Democrats, so they would want to recruit young people. If you are diverse if you look different. You know what I'm saying? Like if your ethnicity doesn't match the majority of the group or whatever, then it gives kind of like more opportunity. So it just depends. It's easier to go to the county convention than it is the state, and it's easier to go to the state than it is the national. So the national is open. Do 18-year-olds get to go? Yes, they do. But do a lot of 18-year-olds go? No. No, not at all. Okay? In terms of how they allocate delegates, it just depends on your party strength and your population. So a state like Texas, where the Republican Party is really strong and we're really big, we're going to send more people to the Republican convention than we are to the Democratic convention. But the party will decide, and I don't know. Those numbers can fluctuate and change. Okay? All right. I want you to flip your paper over again. And I would like for you to answer question 3 on the back of your paper. Question 3 says, what do you think accounts for the way Republicans and Democrats differ in this process? What is the potential result of... So I'm talking there not about the primary and caucus. I'm talking about the winner-take-all system versus proportional delegates.